Today, we're going to take a look at 3 times WandaVision used mumbo-jumbo and got away with it. You know, I kind of feel sorry for movie and TV show writers. They really have it quite tough. They are literally constantly challenged to come up with the most bombastic conflict and action in their storylines.
It never ends.
It's no wonder that quite often we see writers putting their protagonists in situations which just end up being completely impossible for the protagonist to get out of it alive. So what does one do when one has firmly written one's protagonist into the tightest of corners? Well, they use mumbo-jumbo, or wave a magic wand over the situation and utilize something that has not been set up in any way, shape or form to get them out of that situation alive. So here are 3 times that WandaVision uses mumbo-jumbo during the first season.
What was that about?
What was what?
I know I was, and I'm pretty sure you guys were pretty pumped to see the White Vision versus Hex Vision battle that we knew was gonna happen. Let's face it, with the first time we saw the White Vision in the tank waking up, we knew there had to be a battle between the 2 visions. And to be honest, I think they really did it justice. In a big Marvel-esque CG battle above the town of Westview, big explosions, laser beams passing through. They did a great job of also utilizing Vision's powers in ways that we've never seen before, and that was really fun. They really thought about it. Great job, guys, great job. And then they even thought about Vision's character, and they thought, well, to be honest, if it's Vision against Vision, they can pass through each other, they can fire beams at each other, and they're both completely indestructible. Sans Thanos' fingers, because apparently he has pretty good grip strength. So they realized, how do we have a battle between 2 basically impossibly immortal god robots, and who wins? So they did the best possible thing and take it out of the violence and the action, and instead they used Vision's character to solve the issue of that battle, as well as move the story forward in a really interesting way. And I'm really glad they did that.
I request elaboration.
However, once they realized that they got both visions in a form of stalemate, they realized they needed to have one more factor to get White Vision out of the picture so the rest of the storyline could happen. They knew they needed to get White Vision to deal with his programming, or what's happened to him internally since he was rebuilt by SWORD. Not once, not even a single time, have they ever suggested Vision, being a carbon-based synthezoid, would have memories that are actually difficult to delete, or impossible to delete. One would think that SWORD would have probably tried pretty hard to ensure that he didn't remember his past, so he wouldn't revert back to his normal self and he would stay as their, essentially, battle toy whenever they needed him to eradicate the threats. Makes a lot of sense. Weaponized organizations love a nice impregnable god under their thumb to do whatever they want.
They'll thank me for recovering such a valuable asset.
When Vision says,
As a carbon-based synthezoid, your memory storage is not so easily wiped.
you could have heard my stoops from about 3 streets away. The mumbo-jumbo effect, man. All they needed to have done is talked about some of the process that they were going through in trying to bring Vision back to life and ensure that he stayed under their control. And That could have easily been a line about how incredibly complex his mind was and that they were having difficulty in locating certain areas of the brain such as the memories. They could have suggested that they used a firewall as a way of stopping him from accessing his previous memories and only accessing his major functions as well as the mission data that he has at that particular moment. What is interesting, however, is if his memories were blocked, why was he also still able to remember the story about the ship?
You are familiar with the thought experiment, the ship of Theseus in the field of identity metaphysics? Naturally.
Maybe a slight misleading logic there. But you know, whatever. On a side note, once Vision, White Vision, rebuilt Vision, gets his memories back, and he becomes original Vision. He remembers the relationship, the love, the moments that he and Wanda shared up until the moment he died. Why does he then bugger off while Wanda is in mortal danger? Putting it out there. Feel free to answer that one in the comments below because I would love to know why.
I am Vision.
So the next arena of mumbo-jumbo that the writers throw at us, when they decide to bring in Agatha Harkness and Wanda wanders down, pun not intended, into her witch's dungeon and then realizes that she can't use her powers because she stepped into a ring of beautifully placed runes.
No? Nothing? These are runes, Wanda. In a given space, only the witch that casts the runes can use her magic.
So maybe these runes do that. I'm willing to let that go. A couple of, bits of graffiti on a wall, and you can no longer access your god ability magic. Good job. But I have a couple of problems there. Wanda is in the room. She then tries to read Agatha Harkness's mind through telepathic magic. And you see she does this because her eyes turn red.
Oh, that's adorable.
But she's already within the runes. I thought the runes stop magic. Guys, work it out, man. And then the very next moment, she's unable to do anything with her swirly hand magic stuff. Now, I know the runes serve a few purposes. First of all, they add to the dramatic reveal of Agatha Harkness, and they let us know that Agatha Harkness is an incredibly experienced witch and understands far more than Wanda Maximoff does about her own powers. It also gives the writers the perfect tool, the perfect plant and payoff tool for the end of episode 9. We'll get into that in a minute. Agatha Harkness has set these runes up in this room. She's gloating over her own abilities and the fact that the Scarlet Witch, Wanda Maximoff, is completely powerless at her hands, her magic. Then, the very next thing she does is she leads Wanda Maximoff, the Ultimate Witch, who she knows is more powerful than her and could have obliterated her, out of that room and out of the Circle of Runes.
Superstar.
And then we learn later on that she wants Wanda Maximoff to use all of her powers because she can just soak them up like a big Energizer battery. So why the hell did she need the runes to begin with? It also means that she shows Wanda the one spell that can actually overpower Agatha Harkness. I mean, that's some pretty lucky information that Wanda comes into. But how does she get this information? She's in this room, a very dimly lit room, mind you, and she doesn't turn all the way around to see all of the runes. And most of the time she's in there, she's in full conversation with Agatha Harkness.
Want any chalk? No? Nothing? These are runes, Wanda.
But that still doesn't really help me with the fact that Agatha Harkness essentially shares with Wanda the one and only spell that can overpower Agatha Harkness. And I mean, maybe this is down to Agatha Harkness was flexing on Wanda Maximoff a little bit, but then Wanda Maximoff is able to replicate the same exact runes moments after incredibly traumatic emotional experiences being relived in some magical parallel imagination room thing in the middle of a massive firefight witch battle, and then recreates those runes on kind of epic 100-200 foot scale on the sides of the hex. Any alarm bells ringing to you guys at all? Any kind of seems a little far. I mean, I know it's witches and wizards, but remember, there's a system that Marvel have spent 13 years really trying to get us to know and understand, but they are willing to give us some sense of logic in the other movies. So why not now?
Kids, they gave her the toughest one.
This is probably the most egregious of the mumbo-jumbo sins in WandaVision, in my humble opinion. Monica Rambeau. I like that they brought Monica Rambeau back into this storyline. She was an interesting child character in the Captain Marvel series, and she brought some interesting emotional weight to the series as well, with her underlying issues with Captain Marvel and the emotions of losing her mother. That was quite good, actually. And is also a nice parallel with Wanda. Wanda's lost Vision and Monica Rambeau's lost her mother. So both of them are dealing with their grief during the series. So when Wanda creates the hex, I'm pretty sure that the wall around the hex, you know, its primary function is not create more superheroes. Am I right? So here's where the mumbo-jumbo comes in. Monica is pretty much one of the only people to pass into the hex, apart from said beekeeper guy, who we never hear of again. You know, I really hope he's okay. This is where the magic number 3 comes into play. Monica doesn't turn into a superhero the first time she enters the hex. Oh no, 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 no. She doesn't turn into a superhero the second time she passes through the hex wall. Oh no, 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 no. However, she does turn into a full-blown god-level superhero the moment she passes into the hex the third time. I get the logic behind creating a superhero is pretty far-fetched, right? At the best of times. And it's basically all about this 1 in a trillion moment where someone is bitten by a radioactive spider. Cool, happy days, no problems. But they spend time really getting us into this idea and creating a logic around this incident, as it were. Most of these characters have their own movies explaining said incident and explaining the journey of that character into learning their new selves, their new powers. Great, no problem. Monica Rambeau arrives on the other side of the hex for the third time. She now has blue eyes. Apparently you can't see other things unless your eyes are a different color. But she's also able to stop bullets with a semi-transparent light body. There was a way that they could have dealt with that situation that really didn't just, I don't know, make it feel like they ham-fisted a new character into the Marvel Universe because they're so scared of losing more and more of the original heroes. And they are about to lose. I mean, they've already lost Iron Man and Captain America. But all they really needed to do, aside from letting us know that the hex was changing Monica Rambeau, was also just to give Monica a couple of moments where things just didn't seem right. She was starting to change. The first time she went through the hex, maybe very subtly, has headaches or complains of cramps and pains. The second time she comes out, she's starting to get woozy. She starts to feel when a mobile phone goes off. She's almost anxious around lots of computers, all the signals and sensors and things that are coming off. That would have clued us in to something that was going to happen with Monica Rambeau. And it really wouldn't have taken much more than a couple of extra lines in the series. I understand that the writers probably really needed to focus on Wanda's story and ensure that she didn't seem or turn out to be the villain at the end of it, so they had to make sure that we empathized with her as much as possible without, breaking the storyline. But Monica is going to be a really important character in upcoming films and series, so yeah, I think maybe a little more time just spent giving us the lowdown on Monica's journey. I mean, admittedly, we got an episode to deal with Monica, but that would have been a perfect time for us to understand she'd gone in and come out of the hex. She was starting to change already, and we got that information, but in a very sciencey, non-understandable way from one of the other characters.
You've gone through the boundary twice already, Monica. The energy inside has rewritten your cells on a molecular level twice.
So that is 3 ways in which the writers of WandaVision used mumbo-jumbo on us, and they got away with it, man.